What's up, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Wellman's Podcast. My name is Brian Brosey, joined by my friend and co-host Keone Tita. And today we are joined by a very special guest, Ricky Alvarado. Ricky is he's Foreseeing Primate online, and he's a personal trainer in Commerce, California. He's a Box and Burn certified. He's Dolce Diet Coach certified. I know he has an Onnit certification as well. Ricky, thank you for the show. Thank you for joining us, and welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you, Ricky.
Awesome, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolute pleasure. So the whole point of why we wanted to get Ricky on here is to really talk about business and getting clients, retaining clients, and just kind of have a discussion between all three of us. I know Keone's done personal training, I do personal training, and Ricky's doing personal training as well, of just what's worked for us in getting clients, retaining clients, and so on and so forth. So first, Ricky, did I miss anything in your certifications or just kind of what you have to offer people?
Just the usual NASM one, but that's kind of like, most trainers have that, so I barely even mention it myself.
Yeah, so general personal training certification. Yeah. And you have the Box and Burn.
That's correct.
Which is like a boxing certification, and you can use that to basically put people through boxing workouts, I would imagine.
Oh, totally. Box and Burn. Actually, I went through the level 2 version of it, and it's taught by Tony Jeffries, Olympic bronze medalist here in California. It's crazy guy, man.
Yeah, I've heard a little bit about him. And you also have Dolce Diet Coach certification, which we share that in common. That's how we met. And then an Onnit certification. Which one is what Onnit certification do you have?
Onnit, I have the fundamentals, and I also have the kettlebell certification. And I went off, and actually, now that you meant going back, I also have the Viking Ninja, which is Isak Miland.
Yeah.
He was formerly with Onnit doing the Steelmate certification, and he kind of branched off, did his own thing, and that I have that certification as well.
Okay. So great for him. So Keone, this to both of you, but with these certifications that we just kind of ran through, did you see a direct, business benefit from these certifications? And if so, and certainly can say no, but if so, what was that?
On my end, 100%. Yeah. I started off as a trainer over at Alley Fitness here locally, and everyone has a NASM certification. And I don't know if you guys have ever been through that big commercial ringer of training people. Mm-hmm. It's very put the person on the bike or treadmill, or it's not very creative. So once I got that Onnit certification and Viking Ninja certification, it really kind of branched me off as more of a movement-based coach, opposed to your typical, just go ahead and sit there and use a machine kind of coach.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And did you see that? Because one thing I see with personal trainers and different healthcare professionals when they ask about these certifications is, to some degree, I think, all these letters behind your name is great, but the only people that respect, a bunch of letters behind, like FAOOMPT, the Orthopedic Association, it's like, well, the only people who actually know what that means are us, the physical therapists.
Yes.
So did you see I don't know if respect is the right word, but just were your customers or people you were trying to attract aware of these different things and what they allowed you to do?
They are not aware of any of it. They, at the end of the day, they want to know if you're just some sort of certification as a personal trainer.
Right.
They don't ask for a certificate or anything like that. So as far as having the paperwork, it's not really necessary. They just want to know if you can help and, just prove that you can by actually give them a really decent class. So that's really what they want.
Yeah. And I agree, Ricky. I mean, the certifications I got with personal training, I initially got them. They helped me initially while I was going through medical school to get a job at the gym. I had to be certified, and I'm glad I did. So the education was great. And so a lot of the certifications I've taken, I always come out and learn something with it. My personal training certifications was the NSCA, the CSCS, and Certified Strength Conditioning Specialist. And then the other one I got was through the American College of Sports Medicine. And I think that was like a level 1 certification for personal training. And they are both different. I think one more focused on on safety, the ACSM, and how to go about training. And it gave me some confidence. Of course I was young at the time. It gave me some confidence in training people. And then the CSCS, just educated me on, how to, help athletes and move them in the right direction. So the education was key, but I agree with both of you. The thing about it is, most people don't really care about that. They usually just want a good workout, and make sure that you're not going to hurt them or anything like that, or do something dangerous. So.
Yeah. And that's why I bring it up, because I've had, people ask me about different certifications or whatnot. And I kind of think once you've gotten your foot in the door, kind of like you alluded to, Keone, where, you've got the certification so you can get the job. But once you get the job, it's like the world's your oyster. Once you're certified to do the activity, then you're good to go. And they don't necessarily care so much about, these 3 letters after your name on top of that, or so on and so forth. Nor do they are they aware of what that means. So I've seen just kind of overall, it's a great investment for your overall knowledge. But I think if you're in that infancy, that early stage where it's like, okay, you just started training, I don't think more letters to your name or anything like that are going to bring you more clients.
Right. Well, I'll say this, I'd see if you guys agree. Like, I think there's certain letters behind people's names that kind of have prestige and respect to them, right? So to speak. So like an MD, a medical doctor, everybody knows what that is. But people don't really know what they specialize in. And and suffice it to say, I'd say a medical doctor is a specialist in diagnosing disease and managing symptoms with medications. They are not the person that you need to go to for nutrition advice. They're not the person that you should actually go to for exercise advice, that type of thing. And unfortunately, that's what most people, they'll go to the MD credential and get that advice where, it's not appropriate. Now, the people that are in the know who actually have heard of personal training certifications, and I'm talking about the general public now that know, they know if you want to get exercise advice or anything like that, like that's probably, your expert in that realm there,
Totally. Now, I think that brings us to the starting point of all this, which is essentially the education or the marketing to the client or the patient about who you are and what you do. So what ways, and I'll bring this to you first, Keone, what ways when you were starting, and specifically being a naturopathic doctor in an unlicensed state, you come to North Carolina and really educate people on who you were, what you could do, and kind of how you educated us on what a medical doctor does. How did you educate them before even possibly seeing them? They haven't shown up to your clinic yet.
Right.
And how did you educate them on what you did and so on and so forth?
Right. So when I came into town to open up my practice, it was a lot of giving talks to people and really just educating the general public on it. And then, there certainly wasn't a shortage of people who were looking for another way of going about health besides, taking pills or prescription drugs. So, so as soon as I got out there and started talking to people and educated them on it, the people would come. But the way I would educate them on it is just say, look, the specialty of a medically trained naturopathic physician, I have to go through that whole rigmarole of what that means as compared to a traditional naturopath who, may or may not have a whole lot of education on evidence-based natural medicine. I had to go through that, talk about the licensed states, because most people don't know what a naturopathic physician is. And that was kind of my spiel with patients over and over again for like a year or two until, I got well established in my own town. And now, and then it just became a word of mouth thing. Sure. And the other thing, I think you guys will both agree with me on this is, if you are good at what you do and are passionate about what you do and put the client's interest before your own, it's like the people are going to come and want to, use you, Yeah. And so Brian and I were talking, Ricky, yesterday briefly about, in PT school, I also do, I'm a licensed acupuncturist, but in PT school, there's a thing called, that you guys are trained in dry needling, right? Well, this is like a turf war with acupuncturists and on the national level with physical therapists. But my whole thing is this: it's like, if it works, it works. If you're good at it, the patients will come. If you're good at it, you'll get the clients, and and you're the way you present yourself and train your clients is that's the best marketing for yourself. It's all word of mouth. You get one person saying something great about you should check them out. You have a potential, more than a potential client. You probably have a client there,
Yeah, absolutely. I think healthcare, and throw personal training into this for the conversation, I just think we're missing customer service so bad. It's just, healthcare is just terrible customer service when no one thinks about the patient experience or the client experience coming in for that 1 hour. And so I brought, personal training, I really tried to focus on the fact that, this is 1 hour where the person's, they may be paying me $50 for this 1 hour. And so this should be the best damn hour of their day. Like, this would be the one thing I can control and make this the best possible hour of their day. And I took that and brought it into physical therapy, and you see a world of difference in just how patients interact with you and respond to you versus someone else, because you give them that care and respect, and really shoot for an enjoyable rapport building hour. And I think that's where I've had the most success, is definitely with that kind of that customer service focus in the session.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. Sorry, man.
No, go ahead, Ricky.
One thing that we were kind of taught in one of these certifications is that we want to make this training session or this training box or gym, wherever it is that you work, that your client's third place. They have their job, they have their home, and this is their other place where they, get to be their actual selves, or have fun, or some place that they look forward to being to. So customer service is actually key, man. It's really what it is, and we're mostly where you'll lose or you'll make money as a trainer.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I found, and the other thing is that customer service thing, a big part of it is just making a connection with the client,
Totally.
Right. And it's funny because that's not even the knowledge of the muscle imbalance or the examination or anything like that. It's actually finally someone fucking listening to them.
That's right. That's
100%.
right. Even from my, because I, with in my clinic, a lot of it is just connecting with the person and talking to them. A lot of it ends up being counselor. That's the thing. I tell personal trainers when I talk to them, you guys have the potential as a personal trainer. I saw this as a personal trainer to be. Really, personal trainers ought to be like the gateway healthcare provider. They should be in the whole healthcare system. And you have the power to do more for that person than any medical doctor ever could, right? So think about that. If you can get somebody that starts enjoying exercise, man, you've done more than anything for them. If they can be consistent and enjoy it, think about how powerful that is. And we said this over and over again in our podcast, that in medicine, at least for me, the more I'm into it, it's the most non-invasive approaches to treatment that end up being the most powerful in the long run. So we're talking about, exercise. How's your diet? Are you sleeping right? How's your stress? It's the basics. Yeah. And I think a personal trainer really, if they're good, can have a lot of positive power over somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking to that first, kind of like the gatekeeper, not necessarily, but the first encounter of healthcare, I think, with personal trainers, you're spending so much more time with an individual than a medical doctor will, or some other healthcare professional, where it's, I saw in college, I was training a female who she came on 3 medications because she was having really bad migraines. Mm-hmm. Long story short, migraines were musculoskeletal associated with her, basically they were tension headaches from her poor posture and different imbalances and whatnot. Right. And she's been on 3 medications this entire time. After about 6 months of working with her, I'm like, wait, I'm pretty sure this is, it's this upper cross syndrome you got going on and so on and so forth. And we fix it or work on it. And she doesn't take the medication anymore. And the doctor just doesn't even get the opportunity to kind of spend that amount of time with her. Whereas a personal trainer definitely does. You see them 3 times a week, 2 times a week for 6 weeks, a year, however long it may be. And you're just getting a lot more one-on-one time with that individual than any other person in the healthcare field.
Right.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing about it is, Brian, I mean, I think it's a wonderful thing to say. I mean, although I think some people roll their eyes at this, but I think with patients on a ton of medications that are coming in looking for a personal trainer, that should be a goal, to get off the medications if and when you can with their doctor. Say, this is one of my goals, and this at the end of 6 months, if you stay consistent with me, I'm almost certain you can. With the help of your doctor, we can do this. It just takes you telling your doctor,
right,
this is what I want to do. Yeah,
absolutely. Now, Ricky, how have you educated people on, this is what box and burn is, this is what Dolce Diet is, or vice versa? How have you educated them on all the services you can provide? I know you have a great online presence. I'm just going to throw that out there. That's definitely part of it.
We're working on it for sure. A lot of times I just try to keep it simple. The easier it is for them to digest and the easier it is for me to spit it out, it just works best for both parties. So as far as just letting them know that we do boxing training, that I am a boxer, that, I box with Olympians and stuff like that. It's just really, when we put things in, what's the word here? When they see that I have the same practice that I want to put them through, it really makes it easy for me to translate, and it makes you a little bit more, again, what's the word here?
This is what happened on a podcast.
Yeah.
This is how it works.
It's just one of those words that's like, it's at the tip of my tongue and it's just not clicking. It just makes me a little bit more relatable, where I was once in their shoes, and that really allows me to, communicate the movements that they have to make as far as the Dolce Diet. And that's really question number one. Before we even start moving around, or during our first consultation, I ask them, like, okay, like, how are we eating? What's your eating habit? 9 times out of 10, they'll pretty much start putting their head down, and they'll say, like, you know what, I'm not eating great. That's just the thing that I don't do. And I'm not, they'll come out strong, where, like, I'm not planning on doing that soon. I'm like, well, if you want to get from point A to point B, then guess what? The freeway there is the diet, That's first off and foremost. You'll start feeling better. Your mood will change and all that. We all know the great benefits of that. So that's really how I bring it about.
Yeah. So how are most people finding you and contacting you? Are you going out? And I'll start by, I guess, answering the question for myself.
Sure.
When I moved to Jacksonville, I kind of had that big, okay, I'm moving now. I got to get clients all over again. I have to basically build a new rapport in this city. And the first thing I started doing was, and I've had the most success with it so far, it's been the only thing that's really given me a lot of success here in Jacksonville, is taking flyers, as basic as it could possibly be. Flyers that, have a little blurb that say, hello, I'm your neighbor. I've helped people just like you for 5 years get, into shape, this, XYZ. And I'm a student physical therapist, personal trainer, so on and so forth. So I'd love to work with you, your neighbor, Brian, and a little picture, link to the website, all that kind of stuff. And that just hand-to-hand combat, more or less, has been extremely beneficial for me, in the way that has gained me all my success here in Jacksonville. And I just I live in a very residential area, and I've just gone to all the apartment complexes, and I just blast out these flyers as much as possible in everyone's door. And then I put them on gym equipment, and then people will tell me, I got your flyer 2 months ago, and I didn't I went to the doctors and he told me I should start working out, but I didn't think I needed you then. And then 2 months goes by, they started running. Now their knee hurts and they can't run anymore. And now they're contacting me because they saw my flyer a second time at the gym. So it's almost like you really do have to kind of, smack people up across the head with it multiple times with these flyers that, I'm here, I'm available. And, they'll see it once and they'll be like, I don't need it right now. They'll see it again when their knee hurts, and that'll be the time where it really clicks for them. So what I guess, modalities of marketing have been the most beneficial to you?
I think I find it funny I use hand-to-hand combat because I was going to describe it as guerrilla warfare.
Yeah.
Kind of like getting out there, like being like, and well, I ended up having really great practice with this because I was a real estate agent. So
Oh, okay.
going door to door, canvassing areas was a thing that you have to do as a real estate agent. So I'm completely immune to people saying no. I'm like, okay, cool, I get it. I'll come back next week. So guerrilla warfare is really the best way to go about it. I have found. On top of that, Google has been really beneficial for me with no ads. Just simply letting people know where your location is. It'll pop you to the very front of the page. That's pro tip right there. So
yeah, how did you do that, Ricky? When I was getting ready for the podcast, I Googled you, and on the right popped up your location.
Yeah,
and Foreseeing Primate, and I was like, well, how do I get that to happen for me?
it's as simple as registering your business to Google. That's really it. You make I believe I had to make a Google Plus, but that doesn't exist anymore. So just simply make a Google profile and put your address on there. They're gonna mail you a little code, a little postcard with the code on it. Type it in, you're in. And every now and then when they search personal trainer or boxing trainer in the city of Commerce, Foreseeing Primate pops up no matter what. No buying ads.
And that was free.
There. Totally free.
Okay.
Totally free. So if that's really a nugget that people could take from that, that would be the one.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I've done other things like Yelp and buying ads for Yelp.
And how has buying ads worked for you for return on investment?
No, man, that shit adds up.
So really, it's not worth it, huh?
No, and I say that like firm foot on the ground. It did well, at least it didn't for me. I'm not a big place like Box and Burn. I don't have that kind of money to burn just like that.
Right.
So it adds up really quick. They try to sell you in this whole thing where like, oh, it's only per click, and then and like, oh, how many people are actually? I never click on the Yelp ads. Do you guys ever click on them?
No.
Exactly. So I was like, oh, I'm no one's gonna click on them. If anything, my name will pop up.
It's just a Chinese bot clicking away.
Yeah, and they click before you know it, you're like, dude, you hit your limit in 4 days. I'm like, I still need another 26 days to go. Like, this isn't happening.
Oh, okay.
So the number adds up really quick. I would probably say, yeah, put yourself up on Yelp. It's a good word of mouth place. But if it's, don't buy the ads. Just simply stay away from the ads. It's a waste of money.
And putting yourself on Yelp is as easy as registering a profile.
Yeah, totally. And honestly, lately, I've been using more Google than Yelp. I've been trying to use it more as a social media, where some of the posts that you'll see on my Instagram, I'll immediately put them over at on Google. The more images you have, you'll get a little recap of your week or your month, and you'll be pretty surprised of how many people actually look at your photos on Google.
Okay. So and then through your Google profile.
Yeah, Google profile. That'll immediately transfer over to clicks on your page. My mind blows every month. I'm like, I can't believe so many people are clicking on foreseeingprimate.com. It's such a long name. I wouldn't think people would be looking at it.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome, because I've had just the opposite, where I've had a sticking point online where I can't get online to actually I can't think of the word now, but I can't get the online to actually turn into a reputable part of my business for me, whereas it's all this hand-to-hand combat where I see my success. So that's okay. So I definitely need to register with Google, put myself in there.
Yeah, and having a website is key, because obviously you can't get on Google if you don't have a website. And it's just that guerrilla mentality, warfare, being boots on the ground is really the best way to go, though, because a lot of my clients have come from actually door knocking. Hey, this is who I am. You create that rapport. Before you know it, they're texting you. I'm like, hey, man, there's my number. You could call me, text me anytime.
Right.
I'm with you 24/7.
Right.
And before you know it, it goes like, hey, I saw your recipe, or I saw that little dish. Can you send me the recipe? You send it over. And then before you know it, that turns to like, hey, I saw that little workout. Can you explain what that works a little bit?
Yeah.
Just being accessible. And that's what really has helped with going to guerrilla warfare style. Just making that initial rapport of making eye contact and talking to the person.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. And adding that
I'm with you.
value. And adding that
Totally.
value, once you've given them so much, you've given them your phone number, they have access to you for free. You've given
Yeah.
them a diet plan, so on and so forth. They've got an appetizer of what you have to offer. And now when you say, okay, I don't know, I have no idea what your prices are, but okay, it's $400 for 8 training sessions, then they don't feel robbed. It's like, oh, I know exactly what I'm getting, high quality value from this guy who really cares, so on and so forth. So I definitely have found you definitely want to over deliver at the beginning.
Totally. And you're already kind of delivering on that customer service before they even sign up.
Yeah.
So it's, it goes back to customer service at the end of the day. So that's where it's at.
Yeah,
Yeah.
building a relationship, right?
Mhm.
Like trying to build that relationship so they build that trust so that they come.
Totally.
Now,
And before you know it, I'm sorry, but a little quick thing. I had a client before they even signed up, they were already sending me people over.
wow.
Yeah,
So
that's cool.
that kind of, grows more testament of how much actually creating that rapport. Like, oh, I haven't come down yet, I know, but I sent over my cousin or my aunt, wherever it was at the time.
Yeah.
They sent people over. So I'm like, cool. I didn't have to do nothing for those to get those, but well, I did, but I didn't have to meet those face to face.
Right. Yeah. And how about Instagram? Are you gaining? Can you see a direct gain of clients from your Instagram content?
I have, I have had a client come in through Instagram. It's a little bit more work, uh, but Instagram is kind of like creating that rapport just with an invisible
With the universe?
individual, right? So you're not really making that one-on-one contact. You're not shaking hands, but Instagram is a great tool.
Mhm.
By far, for a trainer, I think Instagram and YouTube are probably the 2 greatest tools that you could possibly have,
Yeah.
aside from Google.
Yeah.
Uh, those 3 things: Google, your Google page, your Instagram page, and YouTube. If you could keep consistent with your YouTube, then it becomes a really great tool.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Keone, for you, how did you, and again, more so thinking of when you were initially starting
Right.
the clinic, how did you market and what was your most successful or you had the biggest ROI as far as your marketing strategies? Was it the listserv email? Is it the website? Is it just talking to
Well,
people?
initially it was just going to different places and knocking on doors and giving talks. And then the other big thing that I did is went to local health magazines and because I enjoy writing, and so I would just put out an article like every month in one of those magazines primarily.
For free for the magazine,
For
correct?
free, yeah. And
Mhm.
the magazine, at least the one here didn't charge me to do that or anything. They wanted the content, right? So they were happy to get it. And so that's what helped me. And then initially, like Ricky was saying, like we went online, and we initially used Facebook before it became heavily regulated, so to speak. I mean, really well on Facebook without buying anything for a long time, but now it's hard. You got to buy the ads. You got to, takes a lot more work. You got to run it like a business. What's not as easy as it was, or simple as it was back then. But really, it was like what you said. It's just going and giving talks and meeting people, and then writing and meeting them through the writing.
Okay.
And that's how that's how I marketed the clinic. I also had an advantage too, because at least in some circles, and I came back to my hometown to practice, so many people knew I was coming back, so that always helped too.
Yeah,
Family
absolutely.
and friends.
Would you, in any situation, recommend someone pay for a writing opportunity to be published and something like that? Like a
I
local
mean,
journal?
for me, I certainly wouldn't
Yeah.
pay to do that. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so much opportunity, especially now online with blogs or with doing podcast stuff. You'll get more bang for your buck than paying somebody to get your name out there.
Yeah.
That's why I do like the online tools, and I think depending on the size of what your business is or the amount of your followers, if you're fairly small and just starting off, paying for ads doesn't seem to really pay off when you're just starting out.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree,
Yeah.
100%.
I think there's much better ways to go. At least initially.
Yeah. And I think initially you have to be real smart with it. And we've all kind of touched on it where like Ricky talking about the Yelp app or the Yelp ads where it's for, if you're paying for click or you're just starting out, that is definitely, you're casting too wide of a net. That's why I really like that, the fact that I did the apartment complex, because it gave me, okay, what's the easiest possible way I could do this? I could have no overhead. I could train at the gym that's located at the facility I live at. There's at least 1,000 people right here who have no idea who I am. And I can let all 1,000 of them know. And one of them has got to, one of them's got to at least consult with me. And from there, I know I can get them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you get one in the door and you establish that relationship, then it may become, word of mouth stuff. And then the other stuff, like what we're doing with this podcast, I mean, people will see you. Oh yeah. I saw that he's the one who passed out the flyer and now he's on, I see him on this podcast, it's like stuff like that. Like the more they see you and the more they see your passion, the more likely you're going to retain them as a client, especially long-term.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Totally.
Okay. So how about video testimonials? Kind of now on the back end, we've had the client, we're working on getting other clients and getting more clients or retaining that client. Have you, for retaining, I would assume we all agree kind of that the customer service aspect obviously is first and foremost. Once you lead with that, it's completely up to them. And most of the time you were so great that they definitely want to stay with you or work with you till they accomplish their goal. But as far as video testimonials, have any of you guys done video testimonials for clients or patients or anything like that? And how did that go for you?
I've actually had one.
Okay.
Yeah, I've had one, and it's one of those things where it has to come out very organic. I've tried to push, see if I could get others, but at the end of the day, I was like, oh yeah, sure. It doesn't come as natural or as it doesn't come off across like you'd would want to.
It's not as organic.
Yeah, so I when I went over, I've done some little fitness demos over at a local Reebok store, and I was just trying to get like, hey, what did you think about this and stuff like that.
I remember seeing some of those.
Yeah, they totally help. It's just some of them are a little too scripted and they don't come out like you'd want them to.
So what do you think you could have done to make them more organic?
As far as maybe waited a little bit. Some of those people I met that very same day.
Okay.
I've had actually hosted a few over at Reebok, and a lot of those people are coming back. So as far as casting that net and bringing them in, maybe I should have asked them after maybe the second time around where we were a little bit more familiar, and I think that would have made them a little bit more natural across the camera. So
okay,
that maybe kind of hold off. Don't try to get that review after that very first session.
Sure.
That would be a really big note that I would put out there.
I think you're right, Ricky. I think when you do it initially, you don't have that good relationship. I mean, it can really come across as kind of like it doesn't seem real or it's insincere with what they may be saying. The best is when you don't have to ask for the testimonial and they send it
totally.
To you. That's sure. The best.
Yeah, that one I had, and the one I actually put up, he was like, "Hey, man, I want to tell the world about it." And then I'm like, "Well, do you mind if I record it?" And surely enough, I just put the camera in front of him, and he just went off. It was crazy. It was really cool.
Yeah, it's great. It probably came across much more authentic, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Now, what questions, if any, do you see like you would specifically want to ask that person for the video testimonial?
The question that I asked, just simply kind of like, what have they noticed as far as from day one to where they were that day? And that particular testimonial was right after a training session, so they were drenched in sweat. And so I immediately asked them, like, how do you feel today? What have you seen as far as improvements? And most importantly, what do you like most about this? Like, what would you say, what would be, in sort of speak, their selling point to tell the rest of the world why they should come over and work out for you?
Yeah. I think that's the biggest way of making sure it's not kind of seedy is just that you give them the opportunity to explain the value that you added. And then from there, there's no necessarily any pressure. Now, I did ask, because I'm getting ready to do my first video testimonial with a client. And I asked a few people what questions should specifically be asked. So I wanted to share them at least. So one person said, have them say what it was like before and what it's like now training with you. And I guess their life before and after. What is it that we did together? And then what are their expectations when they first came in, and how did we exceed them? And I think that's a great one, because you can ask that question and they can give you a raving, really awesome answer without it being like kind of pushy. You asked the proper question, if that makes sense. Like you know, how have we exceeded your expectations? And you just give them the floor to express what they want to express, really.
I think those are great questions.
Yeah. And then the last one, I think this is definitely the most important one. What would you tell others similar to you who are on the fence about signing on with me, or whatever the case may be? And I think there you just get the client or the patient to do the marketing for you, which is obviously what we want. And that's the most organic way to go about it.
Of course.
So I'm going to take those questions and use them for sure. I was wondering if you guys had any extra questions that you could think of off the top of your head.
I think looking back today, I would probably ask, the environment. How do they like actually being where they're at? The reason I say that, we're currently looking for a new location. Right now, very guerrilla warfare. I'm training people in my backyard, garage style. I'm sure you've seen the transformation from day one to today of how it looks. But when I bring it up to some of the clients, they're like, well, we don't really want to leave this spot.
Oh, wow.
So it really made me think. I'm like, what environment really matters? They're in there. It's like, it doesn't get any more private. I'm not trying to do a little selling point here, but it's just, I think environment really matters when it comes down to how they feel when they're in there. Like my house is your house kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And it goes back to making your gym their third place.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you moving because you're just growing? Is that what, or you just?
We're growing, and it's. I don't want to either. It's in my backyard. It makes life really easy for me. I just come in and do my stuff, and then walk out when I need to. But I think it's necessary as far as exposure goes. Exposure and
growing the business, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and they need the space.
Yeah.
We have some stuff that we're trying to get done, and our boxing classes need more people in them.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. I think once you make that change, like I've moved to our gym, a couple times, and each time there's some moaning and groaning about it. But once you make that change, people tend to be really thrilled, because usually when you're moving, it's going to be overall, it's probably going to be a better environment anyway.
Yeah, which again goes back to just showing them that increase in value. It's a better location, and they eventually catch on to that.
Right.
Yeah. I think most of them were just scared as like, is the bill going to go up? I'm like, let's cross that bridge when we get there, guys.
Now, Ricky, you mentioned the Reebok, that you're working at Reebok. Can you just talk a little bit about what that is and how you got that as a personal trainer?
Sure. I'm going to make the story as short as possible. I actually, when I was in high school, I used to work at Reebok. So I've always had that had that relationship with that particular store. Moved on, grown up, and it turns out I still shop there. So I asked them, a little point here that I want to make: everywhere you go and you're allowed to, drop your business cards, drop a flyer. So that's simply what I was doing. It makes sense. People are in there buying running shoes, buying workout gear. Oh, by the way, Foreseeing Primate's only down the street. So I went in there just simply talking to the guys that I know, and they told me, like, well, Reebok right now has a community thing where they want to help build a stronger running or fitness community. So they were actually reaching out to trainers. That's just a thing that all Reeboks are doing. So if you have anyone nearby, I wouldn't be afraid to reach out to Adidas, reach out to Nike. I know ASICS has like a fun run that they do every month. So there's always opportunity there with fitness brands like Reebok and Nike and all of them. So just go in there and reach out and see what you could do for them, or just let them know you're a trainer.
And
I mean,
are
that's
you?
really what you're doing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And are you able to take those clients and sell them on your personal services, or do you have like a non-compete?
No, 100%. If they're in there, they just want people to go in there and buy their
And look at the
product,
store. Yeah,
look at their store, and they're pretty much, it's a win-win for both.
that's awesome.
Take a little registration page, sign them up, let them know that you're going to reach out to them every now and then, or people that are really interested, make sure you shake a lot of hands and let them know that you're there to help.
Yeah, that definitely seems like a win-win. Seems like there's no negative to that.
Mm-hmm.
I was recently in contact with how they tried to sell themselves as like the Uber of fitness companies, Uber personal trainers. So you would just say, hey, yeah, basically you own a zone more or less, and someone can go
Right.
onto this app and you can say, all right, I'll teach this class at 5:30. But then
Mm-hmm.
they wanted you to sign a non-compete essentially in a radius, and so it's just the exact opposite of that. So it seems like
Totally.
definitely in those early stages, you should be looking for things like your Reebok situation where you can work and be working for someone and at the same time be building your own side hustle, your own
Oh,
brand.
100%. And this is all, I don't want to say charity, but it's all, to me, it was a free demo. It's just and plus you're partnering up with a global brand like Reebok or Nike or anybody. So it's exposure. It gives you more a legitimate title as a trainer because you're there with a legit brand.
Yeah.
And going back to what you said, there are some gyms that I would say a lot of trainers have to kind of keep an eye out for with that whole non-compete stuff. I did actually, I was approached by another trainer where they had a gym. They wanted me to teach their boxing class, but there was just no way, no how of me actually taking any clients that I actually brought in myself. So I would definitely look out for those Uber gyms or Uber trainers. Totally.
Yeah. And one thing I've found success with as I've branched out, because I initially started training similar to you, where I started training at the Auburn University campus rec, which more or less people signed up for personal training and they got divvied out. More or less, that was how it worked out. And then here, I have to set my prices. I have to decide what's worth, what everything's worth and how I'm going to go about it. And just for me, it was much more successful and I was much less caught off guard and able to negotiate and communicate when I had set a price in mind. So I said, I'm not doing anything less than $50 an hour, for example, because there's I got too much going on for less than $50 to be worth my time. So then I'm approached to teach a class, kettlebell training class, and I'd absolutely love to do that. We get just about to the point where we're about to do it, and he wants to pay me $20 a class, where you're teaching 15 people at a time, maybe. And it makes things very easy for you as the personal trainer to say, oh, that's immediately not worth it. Not even in like a negative way or just, I don't need that money or whatever. It's just, oh, that doesn't equate to an hour worth of my time. $50 is worth an hour of my time to me. So I would never do something like that and sell myself short. So it's just kind of making sure you don't sell yourself short and kind of thinking pre these consultations, what your value is and what you're willing to negotiate on.
Or to play devil's advocate here, what if there is no sort of contingency where you are allowed to take some of those clients with you? That would be a pretty good way to get exposure as well, right?
Absolutely. Exactly.
So I would just kind of weigh it off. I mean, if you have the time, it's Saturday at 9 a.m. No one wants to come down because they're out having breakfast. For $20 and really get your name out there, as long as there's no contingency, I would say, why not? Go for it. I do these Reebok events for free.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great point, because it's just all about your time and your situation. Just like you said, if it's Saturday at 9 a.m., nothing else is going on. That's great.
Got nothing going on.
Sure.
Why not, man? Do it. Knock it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Keone, anything else that we kind of didn't touch on that you feel like you could share some wisdom with us, being a few years?
Well, I mean, staying with the personal training, I mean, I still, like tonight, I have a personal training class that I do at 7:30, right? And basically, what I have done is I have a group of about 20 people, and I send out a text to them, say, hey, I'm training at 7:30. I'm going to go work out at 7:30 with them. I know that I'm always going to work out most days, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I actually work out with this class, and I've been in it so long that everybody has a different fitness level, and I tell them before we start how to regress and how to progress the exercises that we pick. I talk to them about rest-based exercise. They can rest as long as they want to. Everybody goes at their own pace, that type of thing. But for me, at least, I at least get to exercise, and get paid for it too, But
Yeah.
and so it's a great thing for me to do. And these people are on text. I tell them around the time I'll text, and it's my schedule when I'm going to work out. A lot of people can't make it, but I always have like 2, 3, 4 people show up that work out with me. So
And are
that's an
most of
option.
them patients or previous patients?
Some
Or
some
clients
are.
or whatever? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some of them are. Some of them are just, through the gym or whatever. Other people are just friends of mine who would work out with me anyway. But everybody goes at their own pace. So I started instituting that, and what it's done, it's selfish reasons for me. I know I have to be at the gym to work out, and I'm going to do the workout. They know too. I mean, it's not, it's certainly not the one-on-one aspect that you get from personal training, but I'm still there to help out if somebody needs help,
Yeah.
as a group. And that's worked out well for me. It's certainly made me consistent in my
I like that one.
Yeah, that's great.
That's a great one.
So how did you garner these 20 people?
Well, it's just
how did this become the group, if that makes sense?
So the group kind of became the group through a friend of mine that I work out with, and then he's like, "Hey, you mind if we get so and so to work out with us?" I was like, "Yeah, sure. They can work out," and they'd come and do one workout, and then we talk about what the costs are associated with it. They get benefit from it, and then we had other people where we were running just classes where the personal trainer shows up and does a class, and they wanted different times. So we gave them the option, hey, Keone is always working out around 7 in the evening, most weekdays. He'll text it out early in the day to everybody who wants to be on the list. And if you want to come to get a workout in, he's going to be there to work out so you can do it. So it was really word of mouth, but through the gym, but it started out with just me and, a couple friends who I work out with anyway.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, for me, guys, I know you guys have to experience this too. It's very difficult for me and your clients too. It's very difficult for me to walk into that gym by myself and do an intense workout by myself. It's like much easier if I have somebody there, no matter what their fitness level is, to work out with me, because I know I have to show up. I know I need to be there. So I love it.
Yeah, that's why I think it's great, because I mean, as a trainer, and I'm sure all of you guys, we're pretty self-motivating.
Yeah.
But sometimes we just have those days where, like, I need someone to give me just a little extra.
That's right.
And just knowing that someone's gonna be there waiting for you, you're like, well, why I can't skip out now. I gotta go. Go.
Right.
Yeah.
The nice thing about this too is I control the workout. So I design the workout. So it's based on how I feel too. Today we're gonna jump rope, or whatever, do stuff.
Yeah. And halfway through, I have worked out with some of my clients before, and because you happen to realize some clients just work better with someone to compete with.
Yeah.
So halfway through the thing, and I'm like, God damn, I actually wrote this shit down.
I had that experience last night with a workout. I get it. But anyway, that's kept me consistent, and it's given our other clients other options if they ever want it, So
Okay. Yeah.
That's actually a great way to add value, and maybe even kind of like cut costs a little bit for those that can't really afford a personal training session.
No, absolutely, and that's what we do. Yeah, absolutely.
That's a great one.
Yeah,
I like
it's definitely a great way to add value, like your point.
I'm gonna write that down.
I'll definitely use that. Ricky, is there anything in kind of thinking about this podcast that we didn't ask you that you thought we might ask you?
Anything
we're missing here?
Well, not quite. As far as building yourself as a personal trainer, I think we covered it. You don't want to overcommit on things like Yelp. You don't want to, because as soon as you sign up as a personal trainer, and because there is a network, right? Where I don't know if MindBody have reached out to you guys. I'm sure Yelp will reach out to you. soon as you sign up for these things, they're all going to reach out to you, and they're really good as the salesman. So keep your overhead low. Don't
Yes.
worry about starting off at your home garage gym. In fact, people end up loving it, as far as I've learned. It's just stay consistent. That's really where you want to be. Guerrilla warfare, man. Be in front of people's faces as much as you can. And don't be afraid to shake hands, especially in the grocery store. I've met a few people there too.
I agree. You be sociable, like get out there, introduce yourself, tell them what you do. And I think using the, especially starting out, using the free services of like Instagram and stuff like that, I mean, if you show some video of you training somebody, show some video of what, you going through a workout or pics of doing certain movements. I mean, those things for me have gone a long way, actually. Just getting people interested, and that costs really nothing. It costs a little bit of time to do that, but you're going to be doing it anyway. Most of us are on our phones or on social media anyway, so it's like market yourself. And then the other thing, and I agree with you as far as, and then make sure that you are taking time for yourself to work out, and then not burning yourself out, right? Like doing too much.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was a big deal. That was a big deal for me, guys. When I was starting out, I worked at a gym in Seattle. Just to let you know how this goes, they would have clients scheduled for us every half hour.
Yep.
And every half hour there's a client, and I would go into that gym on the weekdays because I was trying to make a little bit of extra money in medical school. I would go in there on Saturday and Sunday, and from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. honestly, and I would train every half hour somebody. After a few weeks of doing that, I can't even study or sleep in school.
Right.
I'm not a pleasant person to be around. It sacrifices, the clients. And so you want to make sure that you make it enjoyable for yourself.
Yeah. And I think part of that is making
sure. Are rough. Those gym schedules are rough.
They are. They are, and you're not really making that much money.
You're totally not making that much money.
And I think that's part of how, alluding back to the kind of setting a limit for yourself financially. I think that's where that helps, because it's, if Keone, I don't know how much let's just say you're getting paid $20 an hour there to train. You just saw 2 clients. Well, if you could see one of them for an hour at $50 an hour, and you've just made what you've seen, 2 people for one, and you can take half the time to study. So it's just really thinking about, because I've definitely had to do that as I'm doing this in PT school.
Right.
So it's been a huge cost analysis of what can I actually do here and not affect other things.
The other thing I want to mention, because Ricky mentioned this, the contingency stuff, like the non-competes, I would just tell personal trainers, be really weary of that. I've gotten myself in trouble with that. And one of the things I do with my trainers at my gym who come there, I don't even care anymore. I'm like, I don't care. I want you to be here if you want to be here. I don't want you to be here if you don't want to be here.
Yeah.
I'm to the point now, like if you're good at what you do, you're going to retain clients. And, and I'm just putting trust out there that people are, at least in my gym, are going to do the right thing with that. But the whole legal stuff, I went through that. Nobody wins on that. The lawyers win. Don't even get involved in it.
Yeah.
Nobody wins on that stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's not worth it.
Now, Ricky, has anyone ever seen your shirt or any of your Foreseeing Primate gear and been like, what is that? And then from there,
constantly.
Really?
Well, people always ask, what's Foreseeing Primate? What does it stand for? From now on, I'm only wearing my merch.
Hell yeah.
So you kind of give them a little backstory of, it's really a description of what we do. And before you know it, you're talking about personal training. So, and they're like, oh, I always thought about doing that. Or, oh, by the way, we do boxing too. Really? And then before you know it, you have someone in your boxing class. So
how much that shirt cost you to make?
Cost me this one I bought off a big batch that I made a while ago. It was like $6, but I bought like 20 of them.
Yeah.
Okay. So I could buy like the Wellman's podcast shirts, probably $50 and have 20 of them or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or there's actual sites like Printful, and Printful is the one that we're using right now. So it's made to order. You probably don't make as much off the back end, but it's something. and it gets your merch out. So that's always cool.
Yeah, you'll never see me in another normal shirt again either.
Yeah,
That's right, man.
All right,
And
get the Wellman podcast shirt.
there's always like respect for, through the On It Academy, Box and Burn. I'll sport their stuff. We have love for them too. But
Yeah.
Absolutely.
the other day is Foreseeing Primate, and there's no other way. There's no other shirt.
Absolutely.
Well, it does start a lot of conversations, right? If you're wearing that shirt. Yeah. It certainly would me if I saw that shirt. I'd be like, I would definitely be like, what is that?
Yeah.
What is that?
What are you foreseeing, man? Look into that ball and tell me what's going on for me.
Let me tell you. No, I went backpacking, and then on the way back up from our hike, just shamelessly, I'm like, hey, man, Foreseeing Primate. I was wearing this shirt. Foreseeing Primate. Don't forget to check us out, foreseeingprimate.com. Out of like maybe the 10 people that I walked through and just shouted out like, oh, what is that? Just mention it, man. Like, Foreseeing Primate Fitness Group. Check us out. We have merch.
True gorilla.
If they don't come work out with you, maybe they'll buy merch,
Absolutely. So, Ricky, where can people find you online?
Foreseeingprimate.com. That's our site. It's constantly going through renovations, so don't be afraid. If you check it out today, it's going to be differently. It's going to be a different site by the end of the week, hopefully. Awesome. Instagram, Foreseeing_Primate. We're on Twitter, F_Primate, and Facebook, Foreseeing Primate, and just type in Foreseeing Primate on Google. We're there.
Yeah, he pops up on the right with a location and all that.
Come find me, please.
Ricky, what is your location? Where are you?
We're in the City of Commerce. It's here in California. It's right next to Los Angeles.
Oh, okay, great.
And the way I like to shout it out, a lot of people, at least people in Los Angeles, they're very familiar with the Citadel, the big castle by the 5 freeway.
Yeah.
That's the City of Commerce. We're by the castle.
Cool. All right.
Awesome. Well, check him out. And Ricky, thank you so much for joining us. I know this helped some people and definitely helped me. And it was a great conversation for me.
Oh man, I loved it. I've learned a lot. I took down notes, so it's a learning experience for everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, Ricky, thanks so much, man. This is great. I wish I would have had something like this when I was starting out with the personal training, or starting any business really, just have some heart-to-heart discussions about how to go about it.
Having a little mentor would definitely be a great thing to have. I didn't have one. I had podcasts to listen to.
Yeah.
But having someone to hear out and, just kind of talk about this stuff really helps. Yeah. So hopefully I'm able to pay it forward for somebody.
Oh, absolutely, man. You're always inspiring me on Instagram. Dead serious. So it's to see you. I'm like, fuck, I got to get up. And he's already like on his bike going through downtown LA or something like that with his headphones on, talking about keep hammering. I'm like, shit, I have got to
give a shout out. Just keep hammering, keep moving, one foot in front of the other, keep working.
You're doing awesome, man. Thanks for inspiring me. And thanks for joining us.
Likewise, man. Thank you.
Be well, everyone.